Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. I am your co-host, Suleiman Steele, and today I am joined by Barry Mitchell. We're continuing our topic of drawing a line in the sand. I think if you guys listened to the podcast last week, it was really awesome, but if you were at Circle, you'd have probably gotten a bit more from it, because I think with the flip charts and all of that and people's interaction, it makes it a lot different, right? It adds a little bit of a different element to it. So Barry, how are you doing?
Good new jump.
Good.
What's happening?
So I mean, can you just recap what it is to draw a line in the sand? Because I've been doing some research around this topic, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
So now he's gonna academically test me.
I love it.
Yeah, silly. For me, bud, it's very simple. Drawing a line in the sand is making a decision and sticking to that decision. So
yeah,
that's for me. That's really what it is doing what you know that you have to do and getting it done. You know, it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to be hard. The bigger the game you want to play, you have to draw a line in the sand, and that line, as soon as you draw that line in the sand and say, right, that's it. I am going to make sales calls. I am going to grow my business. I am going to lose weight, whatever that is. Well, now the hard part is you've got to take responsibility for that line. And I think that's when it really becomes friggin' tough. And, you know, and so, yeah, in my mind, that's it. It's making a decision, whatever that decision is. You draw that line in the sand. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And then you don't go beyond it or behind it or wherever the line is. You know, that's it. Boom. I'm not doing this anymore.
So, would you say that drawing a line in the sand? What would you say that drawing a line in the sand and boundaries? Would you say that they're different, or would you say that they're similar?
No, I think they're very different.
Okay.
Boundaries are boundaries. Boundaries are a set of rules that determines how you play the game. Boundaries are things like code of honor, operational rules. Boundaries are things like how you and I talk to each other. But you and I can draw a line in the sand today and say, enough is enough, dude. Come on. Hey, both of us could agree. We're tired of being fat sloths. We're tired of if we're business partners, we're tired of not making money.
Yeah.
We can draw a line in the sand. But we have some boundaries on how we're going to speak to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe one of our boundaries is we speak to each other with respect. We don't curse each other, swear at each other. We don't speak. Those are boundaries. But that's not a line in the sand. The line in the sand is let's friggin' do this. We know that that's what we have to do. I just ask you this. How many times are people putting stuff off to do another day or to do next week or to do...
procrastination is... Yeah.
So, how do you get past it? You draw that friggin' line in the sand and say, today I'm going to sit down at my desk. You know, I don't know, in your world, you're going to fix a website.
Yeah.
You're going to add... Well, take a classic thing that we're working on at the moment. You're going to sort out our shop and our website.
Yeah.
Now, you can talk about, well, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. But the reality is, you know that actually what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Sit down, put 2 hours aside, and friggin' get it done. Yes?
Yeah.
And that's true to all areas of our life, I think.
No,
so,
100%.
And the boundaries that you set for yourself are going to determine whether you do it or not. You know, you within that line in the sand. Well, you know, are you going to work for 48 hours? Well, you have a wife, so no, you're not. You're going to have to set some boundaries for yourself so that you take a break, so you do this, but you're still going to get it done.
Yeah.
And then you have to set some boundaries for her.
Yeah.
Babe, hey, this is the deal. For the next 2 hours, I'm friggin' locked away. So do me a favor. Make sure that I stay in that room and don't let me come out. You get it. Now you set the boundaries.
Because how important is it to let other people know? Like, let's just say the people in your team or your family. How important is it for you to let them know your line in the sand? In terms of like what you just said there, because I think like that's actually quite interesting. In terms of me going to my partner and saying, I'm gonna be doing this for the next 2 hours. Make sure that I do not come out, and make sure that I'm actually doing what I'm saying I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Is it important? Because like, I mean, you always tell the story of when you came back, when you had the program from Damien,
Yeah.
when you were doing your rowing, and you came back and you were tired, and you went to Nicole and you asked her, do you think it would be okay if I don't row today?
Yeah,
And she was like, don't ask me.
100%. Because we had a set of rules.
Yeah.
And she knew what. So your question was, you know, how effective is it if you tell other people?
Yeah.
Well, once you tell other people, then it shows your commitment.
Okay.
Now it's going to test your integrity.
Ooh.
So I stand up at Circle and I say to people, in the next 3 weeks, I am going to row for 1 hour a day, every day for the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the next 3 weeks, I am going to find 10 new clients and I'm going to show you guys how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 3 weeks' time, if I've done nothing, well, what are they going to think of me?
Yeah, they're not going to trust you.
So,
You
lack
listen to your word.
integrity, you talk stuff, you don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. 100%.
Now, in 3 weeks' time, if I can stand and I can show them and say, hey, here are my stats. This is how much fitter I've become. This is where my heart rate's gone. This is how much weight I've lost. This is how many hours. Well, they're going to sit and they may not give an absolute rat's friggin'
No.
yeah. Not even give a rat's
Yeah.
for what I've done. That's irrelevant. But what it is going to tell them is, wow, this guy has integrity. He does what he says he's going to do.
100%.
So, how many times in teams have you been on a team where you sit down with people and you go, are you going to do it? And people go, well, nah.
I mean, I've been that person on the team.
And when you chat to them aside, no, we're going to do this. But they don't actually stand up and make that commitment.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you honestly make that commitment and tell other people, well, now it's not
It's
only
real.
you. You can bullshit yourself, man. Come on, we all know this. We all bullshit ourselves. You know,
Consistently.
I've been on a very focused eating plan. So started trying intermittent fasting. I do a lot of these things to see how they work. So for the last 8 days, I've been intermittent fasting, making sure that I eat before 7 in the evening, and then I fast until 11:30, 12 the next day.
Okay.
And then I've cut out all grain-based stuff. And yesterday evening, Nicole and I, or afternoon, we come back, we sitting down in the lounge, and Michaela arrives, she says, hey, does anyone want popcorn? I have some popcorn. Now, it's just popcorn. But so now I can start saying to myself, well, it's just popcorn. Or I can own it and go, okay, you stuffed up. You stuffed up, you dropped the ball. Well, how's this week going to look? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
You didn't, like they say, you didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater by going, I ate popcorn, the whole thing is done.
100%.
The whole thing is messed up. Now I'm going to eat everything.
or beat myself up. I take it, I go, okay, well, I dropped the ball. Okay, good. So why did you drop the ball? I process it, I sort it out in my mind and go, okay, well, why were you that weak?
Tough question.
What made you that weak? Why couldn't you control your hand to the popcorn ball?
You got to answer that honestly.
Well, 100%. Or you can bullshit yourself. Yeah, and that's where people get lost, is they make the commitment they're going to do this, and then they, well, you know, it wasn't really my fault, we were relaxing, and you know, I deserved a reward because I've had a wonderful week. Well, if that's what you set up when you set up, that you're going to have a reward once a week, great.
Then put it there.
I didn't set that up.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's me, I'm stupid, I didn't set it up. So I got to change my agreement with myself.
Which is, would you say that's okay as well? Like, I mean, it's your agreement, right?
Yeah, if you want to be a
else's.
frigging quitter.
No, let's just say you want to add in like that, right? On a Sunday, you get to reward yourself
Of
with something
course.
at X.
Sudi, it's your agreement. You agree with whatever you want to agree to.
Yeah, but you got to stick to it.
Well, so the question is, what are you doing it to achieve? And the reality is the tighter your agreements, the more stringent the more stringent on what you have to, your action that you have to take,
Yeah.
the better the results you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you become too flexible with your agreement,
So,
your results become that.
so you say you're going to make 10 physical calls a week, and you don't do any. Well, what happens next week? Okay, I'll do my 10.
Nah.
Okay, I'll do my 10. Or if your rules are, stop that, I'll do 20 this week. Well, which is easiest? So it all depends on you. It all depends on how committed you are. So if you're in sales and you say, I'm going to do 50 calls a week, 50 calls a month, that works out at 13 calls a week. And I'm committed to do my 50. And you miss your 13. Well, next week, are you going to catch up or not? Well, it's the same as saying, well, is it okay to reward yourself? Of course it's okay to reward yourself. Of course it's okay to say, well, I missed last week, so I'll make sure I do this. It's your choice.
Yeah.
But whatever that discussion is, whatever you agree with yourself, that is going to affect your results. What results do you want?
I mean, and that's a,
That-
not 100%. Because I think that drawing a line in the sand it's an important piece, right? And I feel like, one thing I read, which I've actually found fascinating, is that drawing a line in the sand happens after I'm paraphrasing, after a catastrophic event or something major happened in your life. But does it have to be that? Because
No.
for me, that I don't think we'd make it very far as humans if at every point we had to now draw the line in the sand when something bad happened, right?
Sully, I've had this particular Uncovering Greatness, the sales coach business for 18 years now. We've had some ups and downs. We've had some big downs. We've had some wonderful ups. But in the last 18 months to 2 years since COVID, we've been on an upward trajectory. We've been creating great results. I mean, in January was the best month we've done since before COVID. Okay, but I've drawn a line in the sand with my team.
Yeah.
I've said enough's enough, guys. We have a strategy. We want to play bigger things. Am I coming out of a catastrophic moment? No, I just want to play a bigger game. You know, I'm tired of you decide what game you want to play.
Yeah.
You can have with a lot of the businesses that I work in, they're good businesses, but they want to be great businesses. They're not. People think that you got to make decisions because you got to pull yourself out of the shit. No, you got to make decisions because you want to be bigger. You got to make decisions because you want to play at a higher level. Everything doesn't have to be falling around you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's when people make those decisions.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so much in the cock.
Exactly.
Oh fuck, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
Oh, now it's panic, and now they make that decision. And worst time to make a decision like that is when emotions flowing. And I recently, and you guys probably won't love this, but I've been spending a lot of time on my rowing machine with my headset. And the guy that I've been listening to is a guy called David Goggins. And that is friggin'
brutal.
Yeah, he is tough. I listen to Goggins and go, oh man, I've got so much friggin' work, so much work to do on myself. But you know what Goggins says? He says, I never stop working on myself because I know I'm fucked up. Excuse my language, but that's Goggins' language. And that's what he says. Does that make sense?
And I mean, if for somebody like that, because it's always drawing a line in the sand with yourself, right?
He is, and he tells the story about when he was invited, and that ability to get comfortable and to justify, and he was invited to go and do this 100-mile run, and he calls it. He says he has an alter ego. He has David Goggins and he has Goggins, and Goggins is who he calls the savage. He says, but when that savage comes out. And he says to himself, who do you want to be? Do you want the are you going to let this half-assed friggin' whinging, whining dude take over? Or are you going to let the savage come up? And that's what it is. And he goes, and he doesn't use the words draw a line in the sand. But that's ultimately what he did. He said, stop this. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to friggin' get it done. I'm going to drive it as hard as I can. So, yeah. For me, it's where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And what do you want to create?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's also a funny thing about around what I was reading when it came to draw a line in the sand is people view it so negatively, and I actually don't think it's a negative thing.
Of course, they view it negatively. Why do they view it negatively?
Well, because it's things like art. So one of the articles that I actually read was it's used by managers
because they're soft.
Tough. Yeah.
There's the simple answer. Because we are
100%.
soft. The world is friggin' soft. People are soft. We're in a soft world, Sully.
100%.
Everyone wants shit tomorrow, but they don't want to do anything about it. As long as it's not too hard. I want that, as long as it's not too hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. You speak to any highly successful person, it's hard. So why don't people like that? Because when you have those tough discussions, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, I've stuffed up. I'm not the person that I could be. I'm not. It doesn't mean you beat yourself up. It means I'm not playing at the level that I should be. But what do people do? They justify. So we don't take personal responsibility. Again, we go below the line. I talked about it last week. We go below the line, make excuses, deny, justify, blame. And it's much easier for you to blame me.
Yeah, of course.
When I hold you accountable, it's much easier for you to go, well, I didn't like the way you spoke to me, da-da-da. No, instead of actually just saying, yeah, okay, you could have spoke to me in a better way. Let me sort that out with Barry. Because I didn't like that. But what do? Like, I'm saying you, but what happens with, what do people do?
Yeah,
Well, they make me
theirs.
speaking. Now they deflect from the issue of, no, you didn't do what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
That's why they don't like it. You see it in the corporate world all the friggin' time. People deflect and then play the political games and
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, right? So if a manager's gonna draw a line in the sand, so like if we're speaking about it from like a sales perspective, guys, you're not hitting your numbers.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a line that if by the end of the next month, if the numbers are still the same or worse, somebody's getting fired.
100%.
But what tends to happen is manager doesn't necessarily stick to that.
Well, the manager doesn't stick to it, and then if the manager does stick to it, people play the blame game. And who plays the blame game? Not the guys that are hitting their targets.
No, the guys who are
Guys who aren't hitting their targets. They go out and they spend the whole month trying to figure a way to screw the manager because now the manager's an asshole. Instead of owning it and saying, well, what did I actually say I was going to do? And then they draw the line in the sand. Say, right, I'm going to frigging get out and make it happen. I'm going to get up. I'm vulnerable. I own the fact that I'm not doing what I could be doing. Now I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's like, so my next question is going to sound a little bit like a crazy one. But, I mean, we live in a country where the unemployment rate is consistently going up.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole bunch of people just matriculated and they are going to be unemployed.
Yeah, because they've been fed lies, that's why. That's a whole different topic.
We'll get there. It's one of the topics that...
well, it's interesting, before you ask your question, it's interesting I say that, because what's everyone been promised? Go pass your matric and you'll get a wonderful job, make money, and your life will be friggin' rosy.
Yeah.
What bullshit.
Yeah.
Go get your matric and it'll set you up
to
find a opportunity.
Ooh,
it'll set you up to find an opportunity. It'll set you up to pursue something that if you become the right person and if you do what's needed to be done, you could get a job, but it doesn't guarantee you a friggin' job. But it'll set you up. And so we're going to have all these kids that have been promised, work hard, study hard, go to school, you'll get a good job, now they're going to be employed. How's that going to make you feel?
Yeah.
Betrayed, pissed off,
100%.
irritated.
More lies, more.
So now they feel conflicted. So now, who are they going to blame? Well, the game is very few people will stand up and say, "Well, stop that. I'm going to own. I'm going to own where I'm at and change it."
Yeah.
The easiest thing is for them to go blame.
Yeah.
Well, people told me, and it's the government's fault. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
So now your question was what?
No, just because what you actually said there was actually brilliant. Your matric allows you the opportunity to. It affords you an opportunity. It doesn't afford you a job.
No,
right?
it opens a door.
It opens up doors for you to have opportunities to be able to do what you got to do.
And just as much as not having a matric opens up an opportunity for you. Goggins said something. He goes. We cannot choose what cards we dealt with when we come into the world.
True story.
You can't. So he talks. He says, I couldn't. He tells the story about he was abused by his dad, physically abused, and his mum was physically abused, and he had an awful growing up. He says, I couldn't choose that. He said, you can't choose who your dad is.
Nope.
It is the way it is.
Yeah.
He said, but once I got to a stage in my life when I started taking control of myself, I realized I could choose how I dealt with it. I could choose how I used it. You see,
Draw a line in the sand.
and draw a line in the sand. And those words are very powerful. I can choose how I use it. Fear. Fear can break you down or fear can build you up. Excitement can break you down or excitement can build you up. You lose a contract. Well, how are you going to deal with it? You know, and then he said this. He said, nothing in my life goes to waste. Nothing in my... And that is friggin'... That is so... For me, that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Is nothing in my life goes to waste. Okay, so there's shit. But if you go back to, you know, one of the things that one of the things that I often teach at Sales Explosion is this concept of duality.
Yeah.
Everything in the world is in a minimum of two. As Buckminster Fuller, you know, the genius of Buckminster Fuller would say, you know, there is a minimum of duality in the world. Unity, in Buckminster Fuller's words, he would have said, he said something like this. He said, unity is plural at a minimum of two. So that means something is created at a minimum of two or more.
Yeah.
One doesn't exist. So that where something happens in your life, both good and bad, how are you going to use it? You're either going to use it for good or you're going to use it for bad. You're either going to use it for positive or use it for negative. Most people don't use it. They use it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
They use it to become a victim. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you go through business and in life, every friggin' day. I mean, I'm sitting in a meeting this morning. My accountant, you were in that meeting. My accountant drops a little bombshell on me. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Really? I thought we had dealt with that. No, we hadn't. Okay. Now I can get all upset, get all irritated, get all depressed, da.
What's it going to solve?
What's not going to solve? Or I can sit and say, okay, what's the plan? How are we going to deal with it? Put my brain into action in terms of how am I going to solve that problem? How are we going to create the cash flow so that we can sort that problem out and get it done?
Yeah, 100%.
Does that make sense? But once I decide what I'm going to do, I better draw a line in the sand to do it. Because deciding to do it and having a plan to do it, well, that's great. Then what?
Yeah.
Now, the worst time for me to make that plan is when I'm emotional.
Yeah, when we just got that information.
100%. So I've got to sit back, take a deep breath, sit back, analyze it, and then make a decision when I'm clear thinking.
So my final question is, because I feel like you ripped through this, honestly. You ripped it to shreds, took all my questions and destroyed them.
Drawing what happens when you try and become a...
Yeah, when you intellectualize
when you try and become an intellectual around me.
Yeah.
I'll stuff it up pretty fast.
So there is the other side. Oh, yeah, my question is, drawing a line in the sand and motivation. I've heard you say this before and I'd like you to repeat it now. Because a lot of people, because that's the thing, right? Once you draw a line in the sand, so let's go with health.
I lost motivation.
I didn't have the motivation. I didn't have the motivation to go to the gym this morning.
But
you drew a line in the sand and you said, I need to lose 10 kilos by X date.
Of course, do you know how many times I get up, I'm not motivated?
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, I got up 5 o'clock. We were going to go. We were going to go out at 8. I had made a commitment the night before that I was going to get on my rower and row for an hour. Mm-hmm. I wasn't motivated. I wandered around the house, had some water, put up my rowing machine. It took me an hour. And then eventually I asked myself the question, are you going to do this or not? Well, what was your decision to do it? I don't really feel like doing it. Who gives a shit? And does that make sense? I wasn't motivated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My family's asleep. I'm up.
You and the dogs.
It's me. I've trained the whole week. I trained 11 times in the week.
Deserve a break.
I went to CrossFit every morning. I got on in fact I trained 12. I got on my rowing machine every evening. I could have justified.
For sure.
Easy.
Yeah, it's right there.
Motivation. Cuck, man. When motivation goes away, that's when discipline kicks in. When motivation goes away, that's when discipline kicks in. And that's why drawing that line and being so clear on what that line is and committing to that line when you're demotivated, that's what makes you do it. Because it's like, stuff this. I'm going to get it done. Why? Because as Blair Singer so puts all along across so well in his book, Little Voice Mastery. Atomic Habits. David Goggins. What are they? They all come down to the same thing. That little friggin' voice in your head. Which one are you going to listen to? I'm demotivated. Oh, God, man. I'm demotivated to make phone calls. I'm demotivated. I've made 10 phone calls. Everyone said no. I'm demotivated. Good. Do it again.
Yeah.
Suck it up. So, and I'm going to tell you this. When I'm having these discussions with Sully, I'm talking to myself often. Because I want to take my game to another level, and so I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, look at me! I'm the friggin'."
100%.
I'm constantly questioning myself.
Yeah.
Where am I doing those things? Where am I wussing out? Where can I play at a higher friggin' game?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like
I can't if I'm not pushing myself to draw a line in the sand. How do I get my team to do it?
Yeah, I mean, even last week's episode.
When I called you fat.
Yeah, and when I was editing it and I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? Actually,
He hasn't spoken to me for a week.
Stuff this. No, I spoke to you. Speak the next day. I don't know why you say. No, it was a big deal for me because you're right. I could have went into victim mode and been like, "Oh my, how can you say that about
when
me?"
I first met you, you wouldn't have spoken.
Oh
to me
yeah,
for
no,
a week.
I would have.
You would have avoided all our meetings.
Like,
and guess what I would have cared?
None. I would have still been fat. You see what I'm saying? Like, so now I'm fat and upset, and you like, okay,
You're still fat.
yeah, exactly. Whereas now it was like, you know what? Actually, I need to change this. Like, I gotta change it. And just last week alone, I changed it. Changed what I was eating, which is actually a big part, I would say, because it was more. A lot of it was my eating. Wasn't really concerned about the gym stuff.
Yeah.
That was easy for me to do, but the eating, that was the major challenge, and it came back to that. I had to draw a line in the sand and go, you know what, I can't keep doing this because it's not healthy.
And that's your choice.
Yeah, 100%.
Want to stay fat, stay fat.
And and I think that's also important.
But
for
I
people
couldn't
to
make that
understand.
comment to you if I'm not working on myself.
No, if you
Does that make sense?
you
If I'm
sitting here
at
250
120
pounds.
I'm gonna tell you, fatty. I was like, goodness me, man.
What are you doing? How dare you? So if I'm fat, what are you then? You know, it's one of those things. And I think that's important. But if you're going to draw the line in the sand this week, guys, make sure that you're also doing the same things that you're doing.
I want to finish off on this little piece because it just brings to mind. You know, one of the things why I like Goggins. A lot of people say to me, "Yeah, he swears a lot." I'm like, just get past the swearing, man. Get the lesson. I mean, I particularly, I don't swear a huge amount. You never hear me swearing. Very rarely. Very rarely hear me swear in my seminars. And but he said something. He said something really, really profound. In fact, there's a number of things that he goes through. And again, it's simple stuff. And it goes back to what's the commitment that you want to make. And it's you. It's your commitment. But he said this. He said he tells the story about him writing he wrote this book and then he started getting speaking engagements and then he had a heart attack or he had heart problems. So he's had 2 heart surgeries. And years after this heart surgery, he had this heart problem. He ended up Christmas Day or Christmas Eve in ICU, and they sorted him out. And his words were this. He said, I made a decision. If the doctor told me I couldn't exercise anymore and I couldn't run and I couldn't push myself, I would not write another book and I wouldn't go speak. He said, because I speak from the perspective of what I'm doing, not what I've done. I really connected with that. And that's really important. Those of you that are leading people, teach people from what you're doing. Don't sit, I've spent way too many times with sales managers. When I was in sales, I could do this. And then you say to them, well, go do it now, and they can't. Don't be that person. Don't be the when I was person. Be the I'm out there doing it now.
Yeah.
And at times I'm out there doing it and I'm friggin' doing my absolute best, but it sucks. Be honest to say that right now it sucks, but I'm getting better at it. And that for me is a real authentic person. Be real and authentic. And in order to do that, go back to the topic, you better friggin' draw a line in the sand and call yourself on your own BS.
100%. And I think I think over time, and for me being in this space for as long as I have been, that's probably been one of the big things, especially coming out COVID and coming out of COVID, was watching how you actually operate as an entrepreneur, and you've moved so far away from, not far away, yes, you do the same flip charts, right, in a sales explosion or wherever, but the lessons and the teachings are so much more different now because you are actually being an entrepreneur. You are actually being a salesperson. It's not a manual that you're looking through.
Well, when I first started, I was a salesperson, so I taught from a salesperson's perspective.
100%.
And that was the real position that I taught from. As I've grown my businesses and been involved in more businesses and broken businesses and failed in businesses, and I'm continuing to do it. I talk from the perspective of where I'm at, tell the stories on what I did, but teach from where I'm at. So
Yeah.
hopefully you guys get
I
value out of
appreciate
this. If you do get value, let us know. If you don't get value, let us know. I don't mind.
Me neither. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcast as well.
Plum Podcast. Oh, there isn't one yet. Sorry.
I don't know what
All
that
the
is.
fruits. All the fruits will arrive.
Very soon. There'll be a banana podcast soon. Somebody's going to watch this and go and create that and then try and sell it to us.
Banana Podcast for the bent people. Sorry.
For those of you who are in Johannesburg,
Time to stop.
please join us at Circle of Influence every single Thursday. And for those of you who can't, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our Facebook page, where you will get recordings of the Circle of Influence that we host every Thursday. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have an awesome week, and we will see you guys next week. Stay awesome. Be blessed.